for years, and I understand that. You're going to go into institutions and organizations who are doing tremendous work, but increasingly the people who are left out of the work of social service, for community work, are those who made our work possible. I hope if there's anything that all of us can do together in the next generation, wherever we work in the field, whatever type of institution we become a part of, that we become a voice to bring those people back into our midst, that we now call our units of service, that we now call our clients, that we now call our patients, and we lift our voices to our institutions and to our organizations and say, those people have names, those people have stories, and without those people we would not have professions. We would not have. There's one great thing missing before we can impact this nation again like some of our forebears did, is that we have to have the community that we now have been trained to serve in all of their manifold needs and issues, which are real. We have to have them as partners with us in the changing of the dynamics of this nation. If there's anything we have lost in the last generation, it has been the communities that made our work possible. So I'm hoping that each of you, and you're going to be working in a lot of different settings, become a voice for not keeping the community out, but by bringing the community inside the doors. We will be greatly strengthened by it in all of our fields of endeavor, by those whom we purport to help and serve, being a part of the programs we operate. No profession in this country, be it social work, the legal system, health care, or teaching, requires that you understand structural racism and its impact on the communities you serve. There is not one profession in this nation that has been fueled by its race construct. There's not one profession that says, before you go out into this arena, you are going to have to demonstrate an understanding of institutional and structural racism and the history of disproportionate treatment of peoples of color in this society. There is not one, and it is shocking, some 200 years into our nation's history. So we're going to be that voice. The disproportionality and the disparate outcomes in every system of the United States, you can pick one, can be predicted on the basis of racial understanding. We have to change that dynamic. So that's going to be our challenge. That's going to be our work. Anne Brady, the great Anne Brady, who died a year ago in her 80s, who organized up until the day she died, and who in fact had at her funeral service huge signs that said, "Don't mourn, organize." Great Anne Brady, who wrote as a white woman in Louisville, Kentucky, he would mention her work in the late 1940s and 50s in Louisville. He would mention her in the letter from a Birmingham jail. Anne Brady would say this to those of us who were her students a generation ago. Not in this great school or in any school, but in the classrooms of the community. She would say the issue in this country is racism. It destroys democracy. You have to understand racism. Regardless of what other issues you work on, you must understand this nation's race construct. It must be a multiracial movement, she would say. We have to bring everybody together. We all have a role in this. Then she would say, the history of this country demonstrates that when black people organize, the nation moves. And so we always have to look to that African American community, which is a mirror to this society, and says until you deal with this history, then we can't go forward as a people. And all of us can learn from it. Organize from out their collective will. When you organize from the bottom up, then organizing will begin to happen from the top down. The great Anne Brady said one last thing, and I love it, and I want y'all to follow it. She says, you've got to be audacious. You've got to be audacious. Don't stay in your head, don't just stay in your heart, but break out of those bonds and take some risks and do some things. And the great Anne Brady, she resounds in our memory today. As I close, I just want to say that you're going to go into difficult situations, not just with the people are going to have to get through it. What's going to be a difficult situation is often where you're going to have to work. The institutions that are going to employ you, as good a work as they're doing, sometimes they're very stifling to our creativity. And you're going to have resilience. You're going to have resilience. It's going to be hard to stay in social work. And you've got to be honest with yourself and honest with your families about that. You're going to have resilience, and you're going to have a support system, both at home and in the community. Have some resistance. Tell those stories. Tell your story and listen to others tell their stories. Build a support group. Have some resistance. Have some resilience. Keep a sense of the sacred. Don't let this society rob you that communities hold some things sacred. It's not just about tasks. It's not just about work. It's not just about modus operandi. There are some things sacred. Learn the traditions of the people with whom you're working and realize you have to be resilient and you have to keep a sense of the sacred. But you also have to have a sense of humor. You know? Don't operate so much on the case that you can never laugh at yourself and you can never laugh at your group. Keep that lightness, keep that audaciousness, keep that sense of humor. That's what keeps us going in the work. I will end with this. There was a booklet, some would say a comic book, that was out in the 60s and 70s, and there was a character in that comic book called Mr. Natural. Some of you are old enough to know who Mr. Natural was. One of his followers came to him and said, Mr. Natural, what does it all mean? What shall we do? And he said, well, I don't know what it means, but do this. Everywhere you go, be cool, play it to the hilt, and know what diddy means. They said, Mr. Natural, what is diddy? He said, it ain't no town, it ain't no city. It's just a little place called Diddy.